again.
Go for it, man. Let's get started.
Yeah, you're the prompt guy. Let's go.
I don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have it this time.
Oh, do you need someone to read it?
Please.
Yeah, 1 sec. Let me just get to it. Okay, the prompt says, please discuss your thoughts on organizational culture. What types of cultures you have experienced in the workplace, positive, negative, engaging, entertaining, etc. And if you believe that leaders are able to shape culture.
Okay. All right, who wants to go?
I can go ahead and go first.
Okay.
So I actually I watched the Zappos videos, and I think some of the things that the owner of the company said, like a company's culture and company's brands are two sides of the same coin. And if we get the culture right, then everything else will fall into place. And I completely agreed with that. So that basically answers the last question of the prompt. I think that leaders 100% shape the culture. I think that's part of their purpose. For me, my opinions on organizational culture, obviously, I think it's a direct reflection of the organization's message and goal as a company and where their values lies and how they want to present themselves to the market. And I think I've experienced not as much entertaining, but engaging, positive and negative, especially engaging at Fred Meyer's. We have a lot of groups that we do, like behavior risk improvement, like how we can improve our culture and safety risks throughout the warehouse. So yeah, that's pretty much where we find it there for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess I'll go if everybody's all right. So with the organizational culture that I've experienced, there's been a lot of engaging culture through the various places that I've worked. Where I work now is, really engaging in, the fact we have a team meeting every week. We have, a lot of training events that like distance training events that we take part on, online, kind of like we're doing here, and things of that nature. So when it comes to that kind of leadership and engaging everybody, I think the leader definitely has, a direct impact on that and how those things work. I definitely believe the leader shapes, a lot of that, kind of like you said, Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of tend to agree. I kind of was watching the Zappos videos. I kind of was like laughing a little bit because I kind of work in technology now, and a lot of times it seems like those companies make culture to just make culture. Like some of it just seems a little bit unnecessary. Like as I was reading some of the prompts and listening to it, it's like, yeah, some of it's cool and it's awesome, and some of it just seems a little bit unnecessary. But that being said, I still think that like the leader really is the one that dictates like what culture is disseminated through the organization and how that ends up being rebranded over and over and over again.
Right.
So like even the company I'm with now, like I was kind of brought on by the founder of the company, and it's like really like the further that the company has grown, like it's been harder and harder to like keep the culture of the company. Like I was like an early hire, but like it's been harder as we've grown and we've gone from 20 to 40 people or whatever. It's like a lot harder to keep the culture. So yeah, I think the leader has a huge part in that. One thing that I like, and I don't remember if this was in the video or just some of what I've read about Zappos or not, but it's just like I don't like really our way or the highway attitude. It's like I think that there's a lot that can be done to explain the reasoning behind the culture and like why you're doing it and like what the purposes of it are. So I can't remember if that was in this video or if it was what I just remember reading about them. But so I really think it's important for people to know the why behind why they're adopting the culture they're adopting. So those are kind of some of my takeaways from things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do agree that the leader shapes the culture of the organization, but I also think it's the employees' life experience and like their behaviors and whatnot that also creates the organization's culture. Like, say for example, where I work in a prison, so there's so many different types of personalities that work there, that the culture, there's not a specific word that can describe the culture, but one that comes to my mind is chaos.
That's not good.
We all have our own department, so it's, I have my own culture in my department, and if you step outside that bubble, you're in like a war field. Everyone has their own way of doing things and their own belief systems, their own values. So if you don't kind of fit in with them, you're an outsider. Mm-hmm. So I tend to be more of the outsider because I have a strong work ethic there, and everyone that I work with who is not in my department, it's sad to say, but they have that lazy, I'm just here for a paycheck kind of mentality.
Right.
So the culture there is pretty hectic. But also, as being a supervisor, I also feel another thing that you can do as a supervisor is when you're doing an interview, you're trying to hire someone who fits in with your culture. So when you bring that person on board, you're trying to, show them that this is the culture that you want, and have them take that on out into the other departments to match with your culture. But it's weird. Where I work, it's just so many different pieces in one facility. It's kind of hard to have my culture be the one that I want everyone to follow.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that. Okay, well, kind of just like yours, my organization as a whole has like a certain culture, but every single facility, since we have recreation centers, every single one has a different culture depending where it is. Like metro region culture is very different than the valley culture, just because of the people and the community that you're in. The culture just has to be different in the workplace. And so it's weird because they have a certain, super engaging and everything. But if you step into a different recreation center, which I have in the past, I got transferred to one where they hired, everybody was, they knew each other, they hired friends, they hired family members. So it was very like, they did not share like knowledge about the facility with anyone new. You almost had to like gain a certain amount of respect before they shared that culture like with you. So the leader there had been there for a long time, so she knew her staff, and she didn't try to make the new staff and the old staff engage with each other and share that knowledge. And it really made the center, it made the center look bad, because when you have one person that doesn't understand the culture and is like just not performing like everybody else due to a lack of shared knowledge, then the facility, like the entire thing looks bad, So
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can go. As you guys know, I work at Starbucks, and the CEO of Starbucks, when he created Starbucks, he actually said he was inspired from a coffee shop he went to Italy, where everybody was just sitting, and it acted as a third place. So when you get hired at Starbucks, the thing they tell you is that the Starbucks is supposed to act as a third place. So there's work, your home, and then Starbucks. It's supposed to be like that nice comfort zone. So I definitely agree that the leader has a big influence on the culture there, because I don't know if you guys heard recently about the big story at Starbucks that happened in Philadelphia. Did you guys hear that story?
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't.
Well, what happened in Philadelphia is that there was a woman who was a store manager, and she obviously was pretty racist. And there was some black men who were standing in a store, and she called the cops and had them arrested for loitering and threw all these ridiculous things at them. So what Starbucks did, because that doesn't go with their culture, they have that third place culture where everybody should feel welcome and kind of just unwind. They actually shut down every Starbucks in the whole world for one day. Every single store was shut down the whole day, wasn't open all day, for something called the bias training, which was like a bunch of videos that they showed us from people who have felt stereotyped against, and just gave us some perspective, because they want us to treat people, you know, so that they feel welcome there. I feel it was a great move by Howard Schultz to really ensure that that culture is going through all his stores, you know, because the fact that he put the culture over profit and losing all that money that they didn't make that day for not being open, and they had to pay us all to be there, that shows that he is very passionate about the culture. And I think that won a lot of people over, that were actually, a lot of people were boycotting Starbucks after that happened. People were saying Starbucks is racist, and people were kind of like losing their minds about it. I mean, it sucks because that one person ruined it for all Starbucks. Starbucks is actually like a really good company in terms of like, they don't care about tattoos. They don't discriminate against anyone, but this one racist manager, she kind of like, she put a bad name for Starbucks, and that stinks.
She tainted the culture. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I think they did a good job of fixing that and ensuring we got the culture that everybody deserves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the leader is the culture, essentially. You know, the leader makes the culture. So, I mean, obviously a lot of it falls in the hands of the employees, but, you know, without, you know, the leader, I mean, you know, the culture would be going 100 different ways with everybody else's opinions.
I think it was important for the CEO of Starbucks to do that, you know, because it's like once you let one thing like that kind of slide, you can slowly start to allow other things and that are inappropriate, and then it just totally ruins the culture. So I think that's awesome too, you know.
Well, I think what's like, even to that point, it's like he probably had to do that whole shutdown because it's like, for that person to have gone through all the training that you guys go through, which I've heard a lot, elevated to a place of a manager, right? That's saying that at some point the culture was broken down, like in the training. So somewhere it was lost. So I think going back to that whole point, he had to do that to really like kind of snap it out of that, because obviously something happened along the way that made it okay for this person to kind of feel that, or kind of work with those type of stereotypes, or think it's okay, hey, I'm going to throw these two guys out because they're wearing hoodies, or I don't remember the exact thing, but you know what I'm saying. And so it's like, that's just like, that's an interesting point that, like, you know, he kind of like reverted back, right? Like he realized, hey, this is a bigger problem than just this incident. If it got to this point where this person's made it all the way through our managerial training and still has these attitudes, something's broken, right?
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're at 13 minutes, so we are good. If everybody said what they had to say.
Anybody else want to add?
You're good.
No, not today. I'm sick.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
We're good.
Have a good day.